You know, sometimes love stories aren't really about love at all. Sometimes they're about timing, opportunity, and knowing exactly which heart to hold on to. And when it comes to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, oh honey, this isn't your fairy tale romance. It's the most calculated royal performance the world has ever seen. Let's rewind. Before the royal wedding, before the tiaras and global headlines, before the world even knew her name, there was a woman who was studying, watching, preparing. They say Meghan didn't just walk into the royal world by accident, she walked in with a mission, and that mission began long before she ever met Prince Harry. It's whispered that the blueprint of her journey didn't come from a random dream, it came from someone she never even met. Princess Diana, the people's princess, the woman the whole world adored. Meghan didn't just admire Diana. Oh no. According to people who've watched her for years, she studied her, like a student preparing for the biggest role of her life. Every blink, every tilt of the head, every soft giggle, Meghan absorbed it all. The shy, sideways glance Diana gave during interviews, that innocent little laugh that made the world melt, the way she touched her chest when she spoke from the heart. Meghan learned it frame by frame. She didn't just love Diana, she learned how to become her. And here's the thing, go back and look at Meghan before the royal years. The red carpet Meghan, the deal or no deal Meghan, the Suits actress doing press interviews. You won't see any of that Diana-style sweetness there. No shy eyes, no soft-spoken grace, no delicate gestures, none of it. But suddenly, right after Prince Harry came into the picture, poof, it all appeared. Almost overnight. That shy smile, those Bambi eyes, the soft giggle, every detail Diana once had, reborn through Meghan. And if it was all coincidence, fine. But if you look closely, the timing feels strategic, like someone was flipping a switch from actress to duchess. It's said Meghan had spent years understanding the performance of emotion. She knew how to mirror what people wanted to feel. And Harry, poor Harry, was the perfect audience. The boy who had lost his mother at 12, the prince who grew up surrounded by flashbulbs, heartbreak, and pressure. He wasn't just looking for love, he was looking for comfort. And that's where Meghan entered, not as a savior, but as a solution. They say she saw his pain as her opening. A man so deeply scarred, so desperate to be understood, she positioned herself as that understanding soul, the one who truly got him, the one who spoke softly, who touched him gently, who looked at him the way his mother once did. She didn't just date him, she mirrored him. An insider once whispered, Harry didn't just fall in love, he fell into a role Meghan had already written for him. The moment she entered his life, everything began to change. Harry, once so bold, independent, cheeky, started to fade. His jokes got quieter, his smile smaller. He stopped speaking as freely as before. Little by little, Meghan's world became his world. There are moments, tiny, haunting ones, that people still talk about, like when Meghan would guide him physically during public events, her hand subtly pulling him where to stand, when to move, when to kiss. One royal watcher even said, it was as if she was directing him for the cameras. That's how actors work, don't they? Every movement rehearsed, every pause planned, every emotion a choice. Meanwhile, Harry's choices, they slowly disappeared. He began living in Meghan's rhythm, not his own. She decided, he followed. She spoke, he nodded. She wanted distance from the royals. He walked away from everything he'd ever known. And when they finally broke from the royal family, Meghan's voice grew sharper. No more delicate tones, no more quiet smiles. She criticized the very palace that had given her the biggest platform on earth, complained about her wedding, the same wedding that cost millions, claimed she wasn't allowed her passport even though records say she traveled freely. To those watching, it didn't look like rebellion. It looked like revenge. The gratitude that should have followed that royal privilege never came. Instead came the bitterness, the blame, the constant victimhood. Meghan positioned herself as the misunderstood outsider, the one wronged by the crown, the system, the family. And Harry? Oh, poor Harry followed right behind her, step by step, away from his brother, away from his roots, away from the family that raised him. The woman who once dreamed of joining the royal family was now dismantling it, brick by royal brick. At first, she mimicked Diana, then she tried to replace her. But now, she seemed determined to rewrite the royal story completely, with herself as the star. And that's when the whispers turned into questions. What if Harry wasn't the goal? What if he was just the gateway? Think about it. A prince with global fame. A name that opens every door. A story the world already loves. Once she had him, she didn't need the palace. She had the spotlight. And once she had that spotlight, Harry started to fade. The prince who once commanded headlines became the man standing behind his wife. The man who once represented strength and mischief became quiet, withdrawn, almost lost. Meanwhile, Meghan's brand was everywhere. Interviews, covers, documentaries, global campaigns. She had what she wanted: visibility, influence, control. And if you ask those close to them, they'll tell you. The power dynamic flipped. Harry became background and Meghan became the headline. Was that the plan all along? Nobody knows. But the way things lined up, it's hard not to wonder. But you see, the deeper this story goes, the darker it feels. Because once Meghan had everything, the title, the attention, the global spotlight, something began to shift. Those who used to know Harry said they could barely recognize him anymore. The cheeky, spontaneous, mischievous prince was gone. In his place stood a man who looked tired, careful, like he was constantly watching his words. And Meghan? She was glowing. Always center frame, always speaking, always owning the narrative. The woman who had once studied Diana's every move was now studying the world's reaction to her own. And she learned quickly that controversy was power. The more backlash she faced, the louder her voice grew. The more people questioned her motives, the more she leaned into victimhood. And somewhere along the way, what was once a romance started to look more like a brand. The Meghan and Harry show. They say every time Harry tried to reconnect with his family, there was always something, a reason, a betrayal, a fresh hurt. One royal aide whispered that Meghan knew how to keep him emotionally tied to her by keeping him angry at everyone else. If he's always fighting with his family, they said, he'll never look too closely at what's happening at home. Oh, and you could see it. Every interview, every public appearance, Harry seemed more defensive, more fragile. He wasn't speaking from strength anymore. He was speaking from pain. And Meghan stood beside him like the conductor of that pain, letting it play like a sad violin. Then came the big move, the exit. They said it was about privacy, but within months, they were everywhere. Book deals, docuseries, talk show interviews, all packed with intimate royal secrets. Privacy? It looked more like publicity with prettier packaging. Insiders claim that when Meghan realized how much influence she could command outside the palace, her focus shifted entirely. She wasn't the Duchess trying to fit into royal life anymore. She was the global celebrity shaping her own empire. The sympathy turned into spotlight, and the spotlight turned into currency. Meanwhile, Harry faded. His voice cracked more often. His eyes lost that spark. In photos, he always seemed a step behind her, physically and emotionally. The strong soldier who once walked behind his mother's coffin now walked behind his wife, almost invisible. Some say it's love, others whisper it's control, some say it's already happening. Her solo appearances, her separate deals, her own voice projects, it's all moving away from the prince she once needed to be relevant. The same people who once called it a love story now call it a performance, a masterpiece of emotional choreography, acted flawlessly until the world started noticing the cracks in the mask. And maybe that's what this whole royal storm has been about from the very beginning. Not love, not redemption, but transformation. From Hollywood actress to global duchess, from royal bride to world brand, from admirer of Diana to the woman trying to become her, only without the crown's restraint. But the irony? The very charm that drew the world in is now what's pushing it away. Because people can sense when affection turns into ambition, when emotion turns into calculation. And no matter how carefully you play the role, truth always leaks through the performance. So here we are, watching from afar, as the fairy tale unravels in slow motion. The prince looks lost, the duchess looks restless, and the palace, the one she once called cold and cruel, now looks like the only thing holding the story together. Maybe Harry was never meant to be the hero of this tale. Maybe he was just the prop, the bridge, in a story where Meghan Markle plays every role: the lover, the victim, the rebel, the star. And the scariest part? The final act hasn't even been written yet. Because somewhere in California, behind another smiling photo and another glossy headline, the woman who once studied the world's most beloved princess may already be rehearsing her next performance. And when that curtain rises, heaven help whoever stands beside her. Because once Meghan Markle steps into a spotlight, she never, ever gives it back.